London is a city famous for the swinging 60s, music, rock and roll, and cultural and historical landmarks such as Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, Camden Market, Covent Garden, St Paul's Cathedral, the Tate Modern. But it's not a great city for driving. It's ironic, I'm driving around London in a race car, but London is not the place. Unless you like speed bumps, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, and lots of cameras everywhere. But today, I'm starting off at Smithfield Market. I'm going to be driving Nick and Ed PIKES TWINSPARK Racing 1973 RSR Porsche 911. I'm going to hop on in and you guys take a ride along. So here I am on a Sunday morning. It's a little bit of an adventure. It's a slow adventure in a fast car, driving no more than 20 miles an hour to avoid getting numerous speeding tickets. Even on a Sunday morning, which is probably the least busiest time ever in London, it's still very slow moving. Everything's at a pedestrian pace. So like all 911s, I've driven a lot of them, I own a couple of them. They all feel familiar. That's what I love about them. You get in and it's instantly familiar. Well, traffic's certainly building up now as we come towards St Paul's Cathedral. I actually walked all the way to the top of there one time. There's a lot of steps up, I gotta tell you. So as you can see, the race car attracts all types of attention. People like they're giving us a rock on. Everyone's taking photos of the RSR. Even going slow, stood at a light, this car draws attention. And that's also one of the greatest things about being behind the wheel of a Porsche, especially a vintage one. It covers all the senses. People are engaged, they're excited to see it. It's probably not something you see every single day. So here we are about to drive over Tower Bridge through the famous arches. Such an iconic spot. Oh, that's a pretty unusual sight right there. We got lucky on that guy. No different to everyone else when I come to London. I like to do the tourist stuff. The Tower of London. People have been imprisoned there and beheaded there, and all types of grim things have probably happened there. Nick and Ed, 73 RSR, tell me about it. Where'd you find the car?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
So we'd been fighting for about 6 months over different cars.
You guys had been fighting over cars?
For 6 months.
All right.
Couldn't find the car we liked. Instagram, one Sunday evening, we're sitting on the sofa. Nick shows me a picture of this car and we both looked at it. For the first time, we both went, yes.
That's the car.
That's the car.
I know there's a TWINSPARK connection. Tell me who owned the car.
So the guy who owned the car was a guy called Leonard. He's the owner and founder of TWINSPARK Racing.
So he built it for himself to go racing, or was it a customer car?
Started life as a 73 Sportomatic.
Yeah.
T?
No, a Sportomatic.
73 Sportomatic.
But in the late 70s, the long hoods were racing and they'd bent so many of them, they needed a few more to actually fill out the grid. So they did a deal with Porsche, who gave some parts to some of the Porsche dealers. And then they converted a bunch of 73 cars, this is the late 70s, fully RSR spec.
Okay.
So FIA papers, full RSR spec, in order for people to basically go racing.
So it's been a race car since the late 70s?
Yes,
Yeah.
raced actively, so raced for 35 years.
Mostly in Germany, some in Netherlands, a lot of endurance racing as well, and it's won races as well.
Tell me about the history. Is this an FIA spec car?
Yes,
Yes.
it is, yeah. So if you were to put this against a factory car, compare them like for like, yeah, you wouldn't tell the difference other than the VIN number, yeah.
So where is this car raced in Europe?
So Spa,
Zandvoort.
Did it do Le Mans?
and it's raced at the Classic.
The Classic Le
Yeah,
Mans.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys never bothered to go over to the Netherlands to look at the car, drive the car? You
Oh,
just...
we couldn't. It was in the middle of
In the
COVID.
middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, this was a COVID car.
But
Yeah,
not only
yeah.
that, we know some people, so we rang the people we knew and said, would you buy a car from this
From
person?
TWINSPARK.
Yeah.
From this guy, from
Yeah.
his Leonard's personal
Yeah.
car. Leonard rang some people and said, would you sell a car to these people?
Oh boy.
So basically
it's,
the network
it's like
worked.
dating.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
blind dating, and all your friends are checking out each other. And they were happy with us, we were happy with them, and that was it, job was done.
So you guys scored in essence.
Completely
Yeah.
and utterly. It was
Yeah.
like Tinder for cars.
Now, I've met Leonard. I met him maybe 10 years ago in the Netherlands. He does seem a very cool guy.
Very cool.
Tell me about the car. It's a 73 RSR conversion, but what's the heart and soul of it? Walk me through the setup. What's the engine, first of all?
So that's a 3-litre twin-plug MFI engine. It's about 330 brake horsepower at race spec. It's been detuned a little bit, so it's probably pushing out best part of 300 horsepower.
Was that the engine that was in it when it was racing in the 70s?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow, so that's been in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed it's got some big brakes on the front that look like some sort of 917 brake. Tell me what's going on there.
917
They
brakes.
are 917 spec brakes on 28mm discs with Paget's.
Wow.
Yeah, and it squeals,
It squeals
around,
like hell.
around the town, but when you get it out on the Autobahn and up to speed, the noise goes away.
So the 917 brakes clamping down on those cross-drilled rotors with them sticky Paget pads certainly bring the car to an abrupt stop with a piercing little squeal. We're rolling on some 16 by 8 and 10 inch with a 205 on the front and a 245 on the rear. In reality, I think we could get more rubber under them RSR fenders, but it seems to be like the ideal setup for driving around the city at least. I know Nick and Ed talked about going to a 15-inch diameter, more period correct wheel and tire setup. We've got about, 2.5 degrees of negative camber on the rear, but the car still seems to track pretty nicely. Driving around these bumpy, narrow, restricted, slow-moving London streets on a Sunday morning. So there's first gear, coming into second, real smooth. Grab third just for giggles, and then back down to second. Shift's real nice. That Wevo short shifter through the 915 box, real nice. Real bumpy these streets around London. I've driven a lot of race cars on the street, and usually they're like just on and off, like super bumpy, jerky. Obviously this thing's relatively stiff, but it's not a full-on piercing engine exhaust note and bone shaker, at least not at these pedestrian-like speeds. So now we're heading west, taking the sights, see if King Charles is in the house. Tell me about the road trips you've done in this car.
Well, we went from our longest journey up until our first road trip was 50 miles.
Okay.
And that was partly COVID and partly we were getting used to the car. And we had a friend of ours that said, hey, you should go to PetroServe.
Oh, I've been there in Zilt.
Been there,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a long way.
So he said, oh yeah, you must buy the tickets, you must buy the tickets. So we bought the tickets and then we found out how far away it was. It was...
How many miles is it to Zilt from London?
I know in kilometres, it's over 3,000 kilometre return trip.
Yeah, it's
You go
about
across-
1,800 miles.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
it's
go
a
across
4-day road trip to get
through
there.
6 countries.
So we went from 50 miles to this 4-day road trip to get to PetroServe, and that was the first year was an adventure. Yeah, we had plan Bs everywhere. Where are we going to get there? We hadn't even booked our hotels to come home again because we didn't think we were going to get there.
We
in the
thought the
first
car would
place.
go home on a trailer.
Yeah.
But you made it there and back.
Made
Yeah,
it there, made
yeah.
it back.
So how was the drive there?
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was We had so many stories. So many people knew the car because we transited through the Netherlands. We stopped off at Porsche Centre Gelderland, who knew the car, knew Leonard.
I've been there.
Yeah, and
did you drive solo, or was it a convoy with a bunch of other people?
no, just solo.
Just on our
Us
own.
in the car.
Well, trial by fire.
Yeah,
Trial
yeah,
by
yeah.
fire.
Any issues in the car on the way there?
Not on the way up there.
Go.
No, on the way up there, absolutely drove like a dream. In fact, loves the Autobahn, loves to just settle in and just runs.
Yeah.
What about on the way back?
On the way back was
Oh, squeaky.
yeah. We ended up with dry bushings on the suspension arms, and every time we turned right, the whole car was going. Yeah.
Creaking.
Yeah.
But we dropped into Porsche Centre Gelderland because we had this like tactic route where we had places we
Porsche
could drop into
Centre,
all the way.
Porsche Centre.
Yeah.
So we dropped into Porsche
Yeah.
Centre Gelderland. They put it up on their ramp. A few squidges of whatever magic juice goes on.
Magic juice. You gave
Yeah.
me some magic
Gave us
juice.
some magic juice, and we run our way again.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
And then mad people that we are, that was last year. We did the same again this year.
Oh, you went back, sucker
Yeah.
for punishment.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys
Went
must.
back again.
The crazy thing is, we knew how tortuous the journey was going to be because we'd done it the year before. The first year was blind leading the blind. We had no idea of how long or how difficult it was going to be.
Yeah.
You must really like the island of Zilt.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like anything else in the Porsche community, and you know this as well as we do. It's not so much about the location. It's not even as much about the cars, although we love
People.
our cars. It's the people.
Yeah.
And over the years, we've just collected a lot of really, really good friends. And the place they all go to in the summer is Zilt for that
Yeah,
event.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's all about seeing your friends. I like to take some pictures. There's some great backdrops. We get out and about at sunrise, sunset. We drove the beach in Romo.
Oh,
we
yeah,
all go on
yeah.
the ferry together. So there's just a lot of really great things you do that are very unusual.
Yeah.
You know,
Tell me about this Porsche Club London meet that you guys do once a month on a Sunday, because we're going to head over there. I'm kind of excited.
So we fell into Porsches by accident when we lived in the States. We got moved back to London by our work, and we were looking for a similar sort of vibe, couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Ended up somehow getting subbed into being the organisers for London, for Porsche Club. We love two things: hanging out with our mates in our cars and going out driving.
Tell me what it is you love about this car.
It puts a smile on your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's the vibrations from the engine. It's the
Yeah.
fact the engine just wants to run. There's something that when you hear it start, it's just the way it kicks into life, and it's the art of the possible. It wants to do something. It just wants to take you out and drive.
It is certainly not a sensible car.
Not a
Yeah.
sensible car,
No.
but we love it. And of
Yeah.
all the cars that we have, we're very fortunate. This is the one that has our heart now.
Yeah.
Tell me more about what you mean by the art of the possible. That's a good phrase.
It's like dare to dream. Yeah,
Okay.
There are no
This
rules.
is like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like runaway. It's
Yeah.
like suspend reality. It's go do something else for a bit. It's go get cobwebs out of your mind. It's,
Right.
It literally is. It puts you on a different planet in a different place.
So where are you off to next in it, other than Borough Market?
Borough Market, obviously.
Yeah.
Actually, where are we? That's a really good question.
Yeah, we have no plans,
We
but
have no
then but
plans.
sometimes it's good not to
We
have
don't.
plans.
Yeah, for sure.
We tend
Yeah.
not to think too far ahead. So. She'll be out and about in the UK for a bit over the next sort of like over summer season. Over the winter, in for a rebuild. The engine needs a bit of a rebuild.
Yeah,
She's
some love.
She's sweating a little bit,
Like
which
an
is
athlete.
like an
I get it.
does.
Yeah,
But at the point where we actually do need to get the engine rebuilt over the winter, which is unfortunately one of the downsides of having a race engine.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's good.
Tell me how it is driving around London, because I've done it a few times. I find it super annoying.
So it used to be amazing, but over the years, like so many other cities, they've basically brought it down to about 20 miles an hour. So when you're driving around London, you cannot focus on the experience of using the full power you have of the engine. You have to focus on the views around you, what you're seeing around you, and just slowing down life. And just taking the pace down and just saying, you know what, actually, I'm going to enjoy it. We go out in London, we really only drive in London for pleasure. At sunrise. Sunrise on a Sunday morning is a magical time in London. The roads are empty. It is just a magical place.
Magical moment. So
Magical moments.
you're slowing down your life in your race car.
I know.
So
I know.
I think with that said, we should get in the car, go do some slow sightseeing around London. Bells are ringing, ring-a-ding-ding. Actually got in a fourth gear, but no throttle. People are always talking about congestion charge in London. I don't know what it costs a day, I hear. £12, £20. You know, I think they're really trying to ban internal combustion engine cars, at least in central London. But sometimes I guess you've got to pay to play. So I've had the privilege to drive OPP, other people's Porsches, in cities all around the world, from LA to Tokyo to Sydney, and here I am today in London in Nick and Ed PIKES TWINSPARK Racing built 73 RSR. It's a race car, and it's probably the slowest I've ever driven in a Porsche car around the congested, speed restricted, speed bump riddled, bumpy streets of London. But it doesn't really matter, because it's another memorable moment behind the wheel of one of my favorite all-time iconic cars, the Porsche 911. This one, as I said, is a 73 RSR flavor. We've got basically all the way up to fourth gear, but we've never gone more than 30 miles an hour. But it doesn't really matter. Like I say, it's one of the memorable moments of driving a fast car slowly, taking in these iconic cultural landmarks steeped in history with historical significance. This reminds me of what I love about England. You know, I was born in Sheffield, spent 19 years there, and the past 37 years have been spent in LA, where nothing's really much over 100 years old. Whereas here we're driving around things that are 500 years old, in some places 1,000 years old. And to me, that's what makes this drive special. Probably the slowest drive I've done in a Porsche. But it will definitely go down as one of the most memorable. Last time I drove in London, I actually made a video called London Outlaw in my former 68 911R inspired car, and that was at night time on a very damp and rainy day. That too is a memorable moment. And this is the evolution of that car. The R inspired the 70 ST, which then inspired this 73 RSR, a real race car that can be driven on the street. All I really need to do now is get out of the congestion zone, get out of the constriction of central London, and go find a road where I can put the pedal to the metal. So as soon as this light changes, I'm going to head south and try and find some open road where I can go pedal to the metal and really see what this RSR will do. So I'll catch you guys a little further on down the road. Cheers and rock on. Video. Yeah, mounted red guy on the horse with the silly hat.
Ready? Video or photo?
Video.